Okay, we are recording. So, hello everyone to the, what is it, March 5th iteration of the MicroProfile Live Hangout. Insert claps and crowd applause here. So, the meeting notes are in the chat. It is everyone's responsibility to collaboratively take notes. It's awful difficult for at least myself to take notes while I host the meeting. Also, please add your name to the attendee list so we know who attended this meeting in the meeting notes. Okay, let's see if I can share the meeting notes here on the screen. And, okay, so I'm doing it there. Looking for the share icon. Here we go. All right, can folks see the recording?
I can see the recording there. Now we can see
Sorry.
it.
See the shared screen. Okay. So for everyone this week here, all right, thanks everyone for putting their names in the list. We have a fairly short agenda this week. So a couple of things before we get into MicroProfile 3.0 for a June release. There's a couple of things that I've been working on. I apologize, I've been traveling for like 3 or 4 weeks now, on and off. So right now I'm actually in Switzerland. So I've been meaning to get to the growing pains thread, which is basically how do we want to categorize and deal with the growing number of specs that we have, right? We don't necessarily have to discuss it here. Please take a look at the thread, provide feedback, and I am going to, I think, take that feedback, make a proposal in a Google Doc or something, invite people, and we'll take it from there, right? So I'll do that before the next meeting because I would like to have some of this stuff in place before we release MicroProfile 3.0, right? And
Right.
along with that is I'm also working on kind of a process doc and a platform definition doc. So I'll take a note here and add it to the meeting minutes while we cover another topic. So just to let you know, really would appreciate feedback from everybody on some of these documents because MicroProfile is really starting to take off, lots of stuff going on, and we really need to, I think, mature some of our processes and thoughts around it all together. So Kevin, do you want to take MicroProfile 3.0?
Yeah, not that there's any big update associated with it. Just that, you know, now that 2.2 is done and out the door, we got to start focusing on 3.0. And because it is kind of a big release with all of the breaking changes that are being proposed to go in, I do think, you know, we will need some more lead time, which reminds me from the last call. Okay, so I got to get this into the minutes so I remember. I was going to update the calendar with all of the required dates for the different reviews that are required. So I'll update that with the minutes so that for sure I have that work item to get the calendar updated. Because I think that helped me with the 2.2 release, just as a reminder as I looked at that calendar of, you know, all the different reviews that had to be done with Eclipse and with the components. And I know from talking with, you know, some of the IBMers anyway, that they appreciated having those reminders on the calendar as well. So I will get those out there. And I see, I mean, Heiko's got an update here for 2.0, so they're moving right along on that. I do not know the current state of config or the health check updates. And the other question there is whether there are additional non-breaking change specs, you know, just a normal update. I don't know. I have not heard of any others. So if there's anyone on the call that knows the status of any of those, that would be good.
Yeah, I think Emily, and should we go through this now?
Sure.
I guess Emily and I could give a little bit feedback about config. We have discussed a minor breaking change. It's a subtle but still breaking change, which is to enable variable resolving by default. So we are not quite sure if we kind of declare it a breaking change or make it on by default and force an option to disable this feature. So it would be 100% backward compatible, just requiring a switch. This is still in the discussion right now.
And
the rest is backward compatible. Emily, are you here?
Mute. Hello. Sorry, I'm on mute. Yeah, on top of what Mark said, is this is behavior change. Also, I mentioned on the Google group discussion. This is behavior change, and the previous app doesn't need to recompile. So, and also this is similar to what CDI 1.1 introduced behavior change. Is also, as Mark mentioned, we come up with a solution. You can go back to the previous behavior. So with this, we will just say this will be a config 1.2 instead of config 1.4 instead of config 2.0. So yeah,
it will really bite you on very rare occasions. So that means if you have a string, a configured string with a dollar bracket in there, then it might affect you. And how many cases do you have where this is the case? It will be seldom, but it might theoretically be the case. So we have to switch.
Yeah, we will document the behavior change that for sure. But previous app can reserve their behavior anyway, and they don't need to be recompiled, which is why it's like it doesn't need to enforce configure to go to the major version bump.
What I'm interested in is just a quick update, so we don't have to go into all the details of everything that's going into config 2.0, but it doesn't sound like you're making progress towards that. Do we have Antoine on for health check?
Yeah, a lot of the red hatters are with me in Switzerland. I think they're still kind of cranking away on some stuff. So Ken, I don't think is a make it, or Antoine.
Okay. Is anybody aware of normal specs, normal updates, non-breaking changes? You mean there's no update to open tracing this time?
All right, I suspect okay. As we get closer, maybe something will pop up.
Yep.
And yeah, there's one more note there about reactive streams.
Yeah, and I don't know if this time is not working out for James anymore, but he doesn't seem to be on the calls too often.
Yeah, he's quite busy. But I'm on the open tracing. I'm on the reactive stream Google Hangout. Actually, it's last what we discussed for the reactive streams messaging, and we are trying to push a release for June's time. Also, is because this is the kind of the first release, so probably it won't be the umbrella release. So, but that's the kind of the month we are aiming for the reactive messaging spec. So basically, we are trying to add a lot of TCKs and etc.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Heiko, how about metrics 2.0? I thought I heard Heiko on earlier.
No, I think Heiko left in the subject, or sorry, the attendees list that he is going to be absent. So what he did, if you haven't checked out the thread yet, with metrics, they're looking at maybe having a property that a prefix or something like that for metrics. So when your applications are deployed to runtimes that can host multiple applications, like a Java app server, right? Not everything is necessarily a single stack app. So should we try and standardize across the specs some kind of one level of indirection for like an app name, right? So that's what that that thread is about. So my recommendation is to comment on that thread directly. One thing I will bring up is if we decide that this is something that needs to be done, this is just yet another reason to have a platform level spec where we can formalize some of these things. So
what about having the context root and root, uppercase root for kind of if one has a context of root?
Not quite sure I follow, but my recommendation, I mean, again, we're not necessarily here to try and solve problems. It's to kind of bring them up. And if we have time, I think we'll call, maybe we can, because it seems to be the last topic. But generally speaking, we don't necessarily get, we try to avoid long conversations on this call and try and solve the technical problems. But I think it's a really good idea for people to reply to that thread, regardless, to try and understand the problem and see if it needs to be addressed.
I think it does need to be addressed because in today's reactive call, there was the third example I came across where people were looking to use MicroProfile config to override or substitute for annotation parameters. And we wanted to use the same convention for referring to a particular location or a class-wide thing, or maybe even an application-wide thing. So that's a place where across the specs, having a common abstraction for the parameter names in MicroProfile config for a spec, for example, for the application name, would be really valuable.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think in the folder thread, I know Ken is trying to organize the architecture call, so I think it should be discussed on that call. We'll try to add an agenda on that call.
Yeah, so John, is Ken with you this week?
He is here this week, yeah.
Okay, so maybe you can even, highlight this thread to him as well.
Yeah, we'll do. Are there any other topics? Assuming that we're done with this topic, are there any other topics? Here, let me do one thing here. To can review the context of architecture, and to have Ken.
I think the topic of a consistent approach to config, if it is handled in the architect's call, that's good. But I had a look at the minutes, and I think the last call didn't occur because of lack of attendance.
Right, on the architecture call?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for multiple reasons, it sounds like it just didn't work out.
But I guess it runs typically, and it addresses issues like that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I had a conflict. Of all the times that were picked, that was the one I couldn't go to. So, yeah, I think, Kevin, you were trying to join as well.
Yep, and I was a little late, but they had already given up on it by that time.
Okay.
And Ken did say he wants to organize the article, maybe next week or so. I can't remember. He's trying to reschedule a call, trying to find out better time, better time.
Yeah, the proposal that Ken threw out is possibly having it on the off weeks from this one. So that, because people already have this hour already allocated, and so maybe it would just be the first alternate Tuesday of each month. So the one that's in between our first two meetings, maybe that's the one that would be picked. That's kind of the proposal that was thrown out.
Okay.
That would double book that time slot potentially against, well, what do we say, like
Right.
group like live hangouts that aren't necessarily status calls, right? So like
Yep. And that's
Axon
and
calls
we
and stuff like that we had.
Yep, and I brought that up, but we haven't had one of those alternate calls yet. So, Ken just threw it out and just said, well, okay, but we haven't had one of those alternate calls, so couldn't we use that? So I don't know. That was just a proposal. I thought it was okay because we're not using the alternate Tuesdays, so.
Yeah, I actually think it's okay. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
Ken.
At least he got notified of it, and maybe we can close on that.
Yeah, the only thing is, not everybody's here, but
Yeah,
we have agreed
kind
that
of
we
like
make decisions in this call, so. All right, I'm gonna do this here. You said that one, Ken. Okay.
I want scrolling to work when I'm looking at your screen share, John.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll look at last week here to see if there's anything we didn't cover. Talk about the architecture call, the specs. Add threads for forum discussions. Do you remember what this one was about, Kevin?
Oh, I did. Somebody. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, because I did update that because I even resolved the action item that was assigned to me. So I don't know, somehow it got overwritten. It was really just a pointer to the stuff that you had posted already with, MicroProfile, are we getting too big?
Okay.
And your spec document. Those were the two things.
I've already added those to our meeting minutes this week, so okay, that's good.
Okay.
Next week, again, begin to add comments to those two docs. I'll make a sincere effort before the next call to kind of make a lot of progress, and I'll also be having continue to have the conversations in the Google group. Okay.
I had a topic. I don't know if it's appropriate because this is my first time in the meeting, but some of the sort of competitors, for want of a better name, to MicroProfile systems, they talk about the amount of time it takes to scan for beans and things like that. And we're probably all aware of Jandex. And it occurred to me, should we use the MicroProfile compatibility to try and push or advocate for Jandex index inclusion as just a norm, so that, for example, if we've got the starter that generates wars, then it could have a Jandex index, so that when people like a Micronaut or Webflux, talk about Jakarta being slow to scan jars and look for beans, by the time they come up with that, then we've kind of made the use of Jandex normal.
Well, Jandex is not portable, and having a full dynamic system has also benefits. So I would not require this, because if you have full dynamic scanning, then you could change things with extensions. You can just drop in a jar file and it completely changes the environment if you want.
I think it depends on the context.
Sometimes it's nice to have, but otherwise, sometimes not. So I wouldn't require this. And there are many servers which simply don't use Jandex.
Yes, that's true. And I think there's something, maybe the fact that our end users who are maybe selecting the application server platform, they might not even know it exists. So it could be a good thing for us as a community to know that it's there. And maybe if some servers don't support it, it might encourage them to do so.
I mean, for the user, what does it change?
Startup performance.
Well, that's a non-functional feature.
I think this might be better to create a thread and to, have a detailed discussion about what problem we are trying to address, and then the people can share their views, and eventually we can come up with a conclusion.
I'm taking notes. I think having this discussion in the group is actually a really good idea. Are there is there anything else? So Gordon, if you want to start that thread, that would be awesome.
Okay. In the Google discussion group, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that.
Not the best sentence formatting there. That's not what I wanted to do. I'll do it later. Any other topics for today?
Nothing from me.
Let's see here. How many folks do we have on here? Alrighty, 16 folks. All right, no additional topics. So maybe what we'll do then, let's come to a close. We kind of have some action items. I have a couple around the documents and kind of chatting with Ken about the architecture meeting. Gordon's going to kick off a thread on Jandex. And I think we're going to have to reach out to James Roper about this as well. So I'll talk to Clement about that. Okay. All right. So short meeting this week. I know a lot of folks are out. So I will see everyone in 2 weeks. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.